What up, Pittsburgh Steelers fans? Matty P here with another episode of Steelers Forum. I wanted to talk today about the Steelers offense and how that plays into their, winning identity. We can talk about defense on another show as the days or weeks come. But I want to talk about offense specifically because I've heard lots of narratives during the week. There's now the Canada on the sideline narrative that he's 2 from 2. Is Kenny Pickett now the problem? There's a lot of the fan base that are out on Kenny Pickett. The guy's played literally 21 games. Not even played for all of those 21 games. So he's barely played 17 games, which is only a rookie season. Let's put that in perspective. But I wanted to compare the overall offenses of how the Steelers have gone in recent years versus what they're doing now, and also the start of Big Ben's career. So the Steelers right now as a baseline, obviously they're 6-3 with their record, wins to losses. 27th in the league in offense. They've moved from 31 and 32 earlier in the season in run and pass. They're 27th now overall with 1623 pass yards and 929 rush yards. So they are getting better in both areas. They are getting better. I'm not going to equate that to other people because some people still yet to play their buys, but that's where they are. 27th, 1623, 929. Matt Canada, since he's been here as now remember offensive coordinator, he started taking more of that over in 2020 at times. But in the last 3 years prior to this season, which is the last year of his contract, Steelers last year were 9-8. They went 9-8 first 17 game season on the 17 game season, second 17 game season. They were 26 in offense, so pretty much what they are right now. And they had 3,411 yards, so about double what they have now, and 2,073 rush yards. So again, basically kind of double where they're sitting at now. And now they've played 9 games. So they're about halfway through that season. They're getting rolling. We always know the Steelers finish better down the stretch. So they're about on par for where they were last year. But obviously we'd hope that it kicks up a notch, but that's about on par with where they were. In 2021, the Steelers went 9-7-1. Obviously, we know that they drew that game against Detroit. They were 21st in the league for offense with 3,778 yards and 1,583 rush yards. Now, that was the year that the Steelers went 11-0, and everyone said that they couldn't win down this. A lot of us said it was very unconvincing. They didn't know how to win down the stretch. They only went on to win one more game that year, and then they lost in the playoffs in that first round to Kansas City. So, really, I mean, yes, they threw for more yards during that season, but ultimately they didn't rush for as many yards, and they found it harder to close out and win games. And then if we go back to 2020, which was Ben coming back after being injured for a year and wanting to throw that football, they threw for 4,000 yards. They threw for 1,351. Sorry, I lie. The 9-7-1 was the 2021 with the 3,778 and 1,583. And then the 12-5 season, was the 2020 season when Big Ben threw the football, 4,003 yards. They're passing 1,351 yards rushing. So obviously we're throwing the football a bit less, but quite frankly, we're halfway to where we were in 2022. And 2022, Kenny Pickett obviously was that rookie, didn't even play the full game. Mitch Trubisky was in there. It was the same with him. His differentials in terms of like the overall production of the offense. The only thing that's different is he throws way more interceptions. And in some games, actually, I don't think he throws nearly as well for his yards. And he also has a problem where if he throws a touchdown, he pretty much throws – if he throws the touchdown, he pretty much throws an interception. So that's not a solution there. And that's the difference between him and Pickett right now. That's all well and good, you might say. That's a lot of stats. And you might still say, hey, it's not good enough. We're not even in the top 20 in the league. How is this? What are the prospects for this team? So I went back and had a look. Now, remember, if we go back a couple of seasons, we don't have the 17-game season. So that's one thing we've got to be really cognizant of. But we do know that it was Ben had the surrounds of a very similar team to what this team has right now. He had a stout run game and he had a stout defense. Obviously, Big Ben came in way more touted than Kenny Pickett. And Ben didn't also have Matt Canada as the coordinator. Big Ben also had some very definable offensive characters, some experienced guys on that team versus a very young rookie deal focused offensive unit. Think about Connor Haywood, Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington, George Pickens, Calvin Austin. We've even got an O-line that we've got like a rookie there in Broderick Jones, who actually turns out to be their best player. Jalen Warren, Najee Harris. not deeply experienced guys on the rookie deal that are cheap, to allow that defense to hit home and to smash the quarterback. And now in the secondary, we do see quite a few interceptions compared to what we've seen in previous years. In 04, the Steelers were 11th. They went 15-1, as we know. The Big Ben, since he came in, he was a heralded player. 2,720 yards, 2,464 rushing, 2,464 rushing. What did we throw last year? 3,400 and 2,073. Now, yes, you said they have an extra game. Yes, they threw 400 yards less, so about 20% less. Sorry, they rushed for 20% less. They threw, though, for like the 20%, over 20% more. So that's that balance there. Then we go this year, we've thrown 1,623, so we should double the amount of yards that we threw, that were thrown in 04. And we're on pace to get within about 85% of the yards that were rushed for in 04. So again, this is a more balanced offense probably than 2,700 yards passing in 04 and 2,400 yards rushing. That's not balanced if they're 50-50. You're obviously going to be able to throw for a lot more yards than you are going to be able to rush for. So, don't worry about necessarily balancing those levels out. But I think we're trying to achieve a better balanced offense than 04. In 05, when the Steelers won the Super Bowl, they were 9th in the league for offense. Remember, the rules have also changed incredibly since then to allow quarterbacks to throw a bunch of yards. But 2,926 pass yards in 05 when we won the Super Bowl. And the Steelers won the Super Bowl. 2,223 in rush yards. So we're at 16. The Steelers are at 1623 right now. Pass at 929 rush. They can easily exceed both these targets, even if you took out the game, the extra game they're going to play. You take away that, and the Steelers are easily going to exceed those targets. So what the Steelers are trying to do, and if you go back to the 2020, 2021, 2022 numbers of rushing, we were 1351 with a poor rush game in 2020. Then the Steelers went 1583 rush yards, and then the Steelers went 2,073 yards. So the Steelers' goal is probably like 2,200 yards rushing this season if they can do it, and particularly now that Warren and Harris are turning it on, and we've got AFC North football coming up, and we've got some other games as it gets colder weather. That's the football we need to play. Mike Florio called it winning football, playoff football. On their show today, they're suddenly back on the Pittsburgh Steelers being great after hating them all year. And then easily, if they can get 3,800, 3,500 in passing, let's call it 3,500. Let's be conservative that they go, about 110, 120% of what they've got right now. Steelers are completely fine when you've got one of the best defenses in the NFL. So I think my perspective is there's a lot that fans can be angry. Pickett may not turn out to be the guy. I think he can be. But Pickett may not turn out to be the guy. But right now, this team is winning. This team should make the playoffs. This team should go. I think they can actually win a game in the playoffs. And then it's about sometimes it's just about how you turn up on the day. Sometimes there's Hall of Famers you got to go beat. Like, it's pretty hard to beat Pat Mahomes. The Eagles found that out last year. But he doesn't have the team around him this year. Look at the rest of the AFC. There are some teams, like what are Miami without Tyreek Hill? Really, what are they? Look at Cleveland now. We play this week. There's no Deshaun Watson. What do we know? What of Baltimore without Lamar Jackson? The Steelers have a much better grounded team than this that's not focused on one player. We've got two guys leading the rush yards, that 1-2 punch. So, and Andy McFarland, I think, you start working him in later on in the year. Who knows what a couple of crazy plays that people aren't ready for. Calvin Austin into the sweep game, etc. So there's a lot more confidence we can have in the Steelers offense. History tells us they're probably going to be all right. So as always, go Steelers.